The disciples of Jesus never fail to amuse. Just when you think they've started to get it, to understand who Jesus is and what he's about, and what discipleship actually means, they manage to disappoint us yet again. And yet, Jesus continues to have them as disciples. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Friday, February 10th, 2023. Let me set it out quickly. This is a story in 3 parts, all of which work together to make a single point. Jesus and the disciples have left Capernaum, and they are on the road again. It was while they were on the road that they had an encounter with the rich man who could not give up his possessions, the story we saw yesterday. Now, continuing on that journey, we learn that he isn't just traveling around the region of Galilee or areas north, but now is headed towards Jerusalem. And now for the 3rd time, he predicts his own suffering and death. Here's how the story unfolds. They were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. They were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. He took the 12 aside again and began to tell them what was to happen to him, saying, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him and spit upon him and flog him and kill him, and after 3 days he will rise again." That would pretty much be a conversation stopper for us. We'd either be too dumbfounded to respond or too grieved to talk. Not the disciples, though. In one of the greatest non sequiturs of all time, we get this reaction. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came forward to him and said to him, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you." And he said to them, "What is it that you want me to do for you?" And they said to him, "Grant us to sit, one at your right hand and one at your left in your glory." But Jesus said to them, "You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?" They replied, "We are able." Then Jesus said to them, "The cup that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared." Okay, that's pretty insensitive. Your leader has just told you about his coming passion and death, and you come back with this? Really? At one level, they seem to grasp that Jesus is going to die and enter into his glory. But on the other hand, they make it about themselves and what Jesus can do for them personally. As you may imagine, the other disciples were pretty unhappy with them, and that would be an understatement. Here's the 3rd part of the story. When the 10 heard this, they began to be angry with James and John. So Jesus called to them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not to be so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." This is where the story gets really interesting. The other disciples seem to be angry with James and John because they themselves wanted the same thing. Jesus sees right through their righteous but self-serving anger. All of this leads up to what Jesus says about servanthood. They understand discipleship as being a matter of status and glory. Following Jesus makes them important. But Jesus makes it clear that discipleship, that following in the way of Jesus, is the way of self-sacrifice, not self-aggrandizement. It is the point he started with in his description of what will happen to him in Jerusalem. He's preparing to lay down his life in the ultimate act of service and self-sacrifice on behalf of others. This whole story really opens up for us the reality of what Christian discipleship is. Jesus willingly died in order that we may have life. He willingly served so that we may be free. And in turn, he expects his disciples, his followers, to do much the same. Oh, we may not have to ever literally lay down our lives, but we do have to be prepared to see our lives as lives of servanthood, even when it is not convenient for us. And what that servanthood looks like for each one of us may be very different, but every form of servanthood shares this in common. We set aside our own agenda and our own advantage for the sake of others. It's a pretty tall order for people like the disciples, as well as for us. Tomorrow, another day, another healing miracle. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.